Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of this conference for the opportunity to be part of such an important and timely discussion. My name is Wia Moradi, and I'm really honored to contribute to this exchange of ideas. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that is very close to my field of research and to the current global challenges we all face. Climate change and legal frameworks in Morocco were weighing the effectiveness of environment law and policies. So let's begin with a bit of context. Morocco, with its rich ecological diversity and strategic location between the Mediterranean and Atlantic, is increasingly exposed to environmental threats linked to climate change. Indeed, the country is already experiencing severe and tangible impacts, ranging from prolonged droughts and coastal erosion to the depletion of water resources, all of which are placing immense pressure on ecosystem and livelihoods. In response to these challenges, the Moroccan government has introduced a range of legal and policy initiatives aimed at fostering environmental sustainability and climate resilience. These efforts include the implementation of national energy strategies, the ratification of international agreements such as the Paris Agreement, and the establishment of key institutions like MESIN, Morocco Agency for Sustainable Energy, to promote the transition to renewable energy. However, legislation and institutional reforms alone are not sufficient. The real question is whether these legal frameworks are not only ambitious on paper but also effective in practice. Therefore, this presentation seeks to critically assess the actual capacity of Morocco's environmental legal system to protect its ecosystems, safeguard its population, and ensure sustainability for future generations. This research pursues four key objectives, each of which contributes to a comprehensive evaluation of Morocco's climate-related legal frameworks. First of all, it aims to review the evolution of Morocco's environmental legal instruments, examining how the country has progressively aligned its domestic legislation with international environmental norms while simultaneously developing its own national regulatory foundation. Secondly, this study seeks to analyze the actual impact of these flows, both from a mitigation perspective, such as the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and from an adaptation standpoint, particularly in terms of protecting the most vulnerable sectors like agriculture and water management. Thirdly, it intends to identify key limitations in the implementation and enforcement of these legal instruments. This involves critically assessing the gaps between legal provisions and their real-world application, and exploring the reason why certain laws may fall short in practice. Finally, the research aspires to formulate practical recommendations aiming to enhancing the effectiveness of Morocco's environmental legal framework. These recommendations are designed to make the framework not only more robust in its structure, but also more inclusive, operational, and capable of ensuring enforcement across all levels of governance. This research employs a qualitative methodology, combining legal analysis with empirical data collection to provide a comprehensive understanding of Morocco's climate law landscape. To begin with, the study draws upon a range of national legal texts, including the 2016 Renewable Energy Law, Morocco's nationally disseminated contribution, and the key policy frameworks such as the National Sustainable Development Strategy. These documents form the legal backbone of the country's climate governance efforts. In addition, to complement the textual analysis and bridge the gap between law and practice, semi-structured interviews were conducted with a variety of stakeholders, lawyers, policymakers, environmental activists, and representatives from civil society organizations. These interviews provide crucial insights into the practical challenges and institutional dynamics involved in the implementation of climate-related legislation in Morocco. Finally, the research incorporates a comparative dimension, situating Morocco's approach within a broader global context. By examining the strategies of other developing nations facing similar climate vulnerability, vulnerabilities, study identifies best practice and areas where Morocco can further align its policies with international standards. Morocco's legal and institutional developments clearly reflect the country's intent to address climate change in a structured and ambitious manner. One of the most significant milestones was the 2006 Renewable Energy Law, which aimed to increase renewable energy's share in the national energy mix to 52% by 2030. Notably, this law enabled public-private partnership and opened the energy market to independent producers, thus encouraging investment and innovation in the sector. In parallel, the establishment of Mason Morocco Agency for Sustainable Energy further consolidated the country's renewable energy efforts. This institution has played a key role, especially in advancing solar power development through landmark projects like the Noor Complex in Paris, which is now recognized as one of the largest solar power plants in the world. Moreover, Morocco ratified several international agreements, including the Paris Agreement, thereby committing itself to measurable targets for emission reduction and formal reporting mechanisms to global community. Together, this action demonstrates that Morocco has laid a strong legal and institutional foundation of climate actions. However, their practical application remains uneven, with significant variation in implementation across different regions and sectors. Despite a solid legal framework, the implementation of climate law in Morocco faces significant obstacles. Firstly, enforcement is weak. Local authorities often lack training, resources, and clear mandates. As a result, laws are not systematically applied, particularly in rural or peripheral areas. Secondly, public awareness is limited. Many citizens are unaware of environmental laws or their rights to participate in environmental decision-making processes, which in their minds civic engagement and legal accountability. Thirdly, institutional coordination is fragmented. Climate policies often operate in silos with poor communication between ministries and between central and local governments. This lack of integration hinders the effectiveness of multi-level climate governance. Finally, policy doesn't always translate into practice. Local development plans frequently overlook climate risk and adaptation measures are not sufficiently integrated into everyday governance. Consequently, the potential of legal tools to build resilience remains underutilized. The study concludes that Morocco has taken meaningful legal steps, particularly in the field of renewable energy and in aligning its laws with international commitments such as the Paris Agreement. Nevertheless, there is a clear disconnection between legal ambition and practical implementation. For instance, in rural areas, renewable energy projects often do not incorporate adaptation strategies tailored to farmers, nor do they include sufficient protection for natural water resources. Moreover, public participation mechanisms, although legally encouraged, are often merely symbolic. In practice, the community voices are rarely taken into account in key environmental decisions, limiting the democratic legitimacy and effectiveness of such policies. On a more positive note, Morocco's international and diplomatic leadership on climate issues, both across Africa and within international forums such as COP summits, remains an important strength. This is global engagement demonstrates the country's commitment and potential to serve as a regional model in climate governance. In summary, Morocco has constructed a progressive and ambitious legal framework to address climate change. Its commitment to renewable energy, legal harmonization with international obligation, and proactive climate diplomacy are commendable. But these achievements risk being undermined unless the enforcement and integration of these laws are strengthened. A more inclusive and centralized model of climate governance is urgently needed. Institutions must be empowered to act, and citizens must be informed and involved. Only tough these shifts can Morocco's environmental law become living instruments of sustainability. Based on this finding, we propose the following recommendation. First, it's essential to create regional enforcement bodies equipped to monitor and apply environmental law locally. This would help strengthen the implementation of national policies at the grassroots level. Secondly, we recommend investing in environmental education to raise awareness among citizens about their legal rights and responsibilities. In doing so, legal frameworks will gain broader public support and compliance. Third, it is important to promote particularly participatory governance by mandating public consultation in all large-scale climate or infrastructure projects. This approach would ensure greater transparency and democratic legitimacy. Fourth, Morocco should enhance coordination mechanisms through interministerial climate task forces and charge digital platforms. Such mechanisms would foster synergy and reduce institutional fragmentation. Fifth and finally, we suggest the establishment of a national observatory that provides open access data to monitoring the effectiveness of environmental laws and the key climate indicators. This would enable evidence-based policymaking and improve accountability. Collectively, these steps will allow Morocco to close the gap between legal checks and lived reality, ensuring a more resilient, transparent, and inclusive model of climate change governance. Thank you for your kind attention. I look forward to your questions, comments, or shared experiences. Let us work together across the border and supplies to build a more just and sustainable world. Thank you again.